Hello, this is Walter Morbeck, and this is my report on the book I chose for Education 407, The STEAM Education Effect, The Key to Unlocking Your Financial Future by Damon Jones, which from its title kind of sounds like a financial advice book, but it is all about STEAM and STEM education in the United States. A little bit about the author Damon Jones. He once had a nonprofit named STEAM Education, which as far as I was able to find no longer exists, and Mr. Jones has since moved on in his career. According to LinkedIn, he now works at Goodwill Industries International as their program director of career navigation. He attended Harvard as an undergrad and received a master's degree in the art of teaching from Trinity University in Washington, D.C. The reasons I chose this book include my strong interest in STEM and STEAM education, but I have no experience yet, so this book served as a basic introduction. Because I'm interested in STEAM, I was intrigued how the author makes the argument that to keep the United States on the footing it's had in the past, we need to adjust our views on education and embrace STEAM-focused classrooms, especially with K through 12 students. This book is about how the United States is falling behind the efforts of other countries, particularly China and India, as well as South Korea, of educating its citizens in the fields of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. If the United States expects to hold its place in the world, and to be producers of technology and not just consumers, then it needs to reassess quickly how well it educates its students for jobs of the future. What Mr. Jones is trying to say here, and which he does a pretty good job in this short book, is that he makes an impassioned argument for examining how well we educate our students, particularly our K through 12 students, and that we need to modify our schools to focus on STEM areas in order to better serve them in their futures, as well as our present and our futures. A particular interest is that other countries, like China, India, and South Korea, are already educating their students in the fields of the future and creating the industries of the future, and will pass us up if they haven't already, if the United States doesn't take action now. Just 20 years ago, he makes a point of saying, China and India weren't even thought of as competitors, but in this same time span, the United States share of the world's scientists has fallen from 40% to 15%. Mr. Jones suggests that this is no coincidence. Even in areas of India that don't have running water or other basic infrastructure, they do have internet infrastructure. Can we say the same about rural or even urban areas of the United States? Do people here have the access they need to better their positions and job prospects through the use of the internet? Possibly this was true when the book was written in 2014, but you might argue that at this point, cell phone towers, cell service, cellular internet has penetrated the United States a little further, so maybe we're not as weak in this area as we once were. But our country's short and long-term economic health depends partly on our ability to educate our students in the fields of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Without students in these fields, we'll lose our competitive edge in the world economy. Mr. Jones emphasizes the point that we don't necessarily need to spend more money, we just need to spend what we already have more effectively. He's a little vague in this area, but does repeat it numerous times in the book. Arts are a crucial element to incorporate into STEM education in order to stimulate students' imaginations and to train them to think creatively beyond what is already known and possible. Hence, he goes from STEM to STEAM, which I've started to hear a little more often, but STEM is still kind of like the standard that I hear. STEAM seems a little less common. Though Mr. Jones's points are well taken, there are numerous grammatical and spelling errors in this book that make it difficult to take the text seriously sometimes, and it begs the question why spell check wasn't performed more thoroughly before publication. This book is also short and to the point, and as such leaves it to the reader to pursue more in-depth analyses of this topic, which I intend to do. My takeaways are the following. The intersection of STEM and arts is that in which consideration is given to how, for example, a laptop not only functions, but how it looks and feels and its ease of use. or how skyscrapers must not only be scientifically designed but aesthetically. We must stimulate both hemispheres of the brain within education to create intellectually balanced students who not only know how things work or learn how things work, but how they should look or could look. We need to stop separating each subject into its individual silo, like only teaching history, like only teaching science, like only teaching English language. We need to integrate these subjects as well as we can as we teach. He makes a little aside at one point that activities like daydreaming and doodling should be encouraged when possible, not always discouraged, as creations surface at the most unexpected times for students or people in their careers. We're slowly warming up to the importance of STEM education in the United States, as cities such as Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and Winston-Salem, North Carolina have created STEM schools, as well as in other areas all across the United States. Mr. Jones is a little vague on how we are to mitigate the inefficiencies, as he says, within our $175 billion education system. And this is $175 billion back in 2014, which I'm sure is a little larger now, possibly, or maybe they've cut it. I should do a little more research on that to find out where we are now. The fact that local control is so strong would seem to be a major deterrent to telling everyone how they should be teaching, though. He uses a chapter toward the end to make the argument that retirement is partly why we should be encouraging the creation and staffing of higher paying jobs, that if more of us had better jobs, then retirement wouldn't seem so out of reach. But it's full steam ahead. That's a title for my own future work on STEAM education, though I did a quick search on Amazon and saw that it's already been used 1,000 times already, which I figured. If I don't really write a book or article, I will at least make STEM and STEAM education part of my future work as a teacher. With any luck, I'll teach at a STEAM school here in Bakersfield, as we currently have one under construction. Thanks for listening.